Hey everyone, welcome to another video. This is going to be another video within my Unranked Challenger series. Now, I'm actually going to do this one a little different to my previous ones. I'm actually going to go over two differing laning phases, the first 15 minutes of two games. And both of them, I play Xerath mid. One, I verse a Platinum 3 Talon. One, I verse a Platinum 3 Zed. Now, I've had a lot of questions in the community asking me, Curtis, how do you know what to do with the matchup? How do you know how to create a game plan? How do you know what to do with the wave level 1? Do you hit them? Do you hit the wave? Whatever. How do you know what to do? Now, the premise of this one, I really want to get that information across, and I think it'll be really interesting to go over two differing laning phases as the same champion to talk about the differences. How do I come up with my decision to know what to do? How do I know where to position, etc.? So let's get into that right now, guys. So diving straight in, guys, what are the first things that I think about? Well, the first thing that I think about, I like to think about two overarching concepts. One is threat and one is range. Now, in any matchup, it doesn't matter what champion you're playing, what elo you're playing, whatever. These are the two overarching concepts that kind of dictate how I at least play the early portion of this lane. Now, what's the range difference in this matchup? I'm playing Xerath and I'm versing a Talon. Level 1, I definitely have a range advantage. Level 2, I do. Level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, I have a range advantage. Brilliant. So then I like to think about threat. Well, threat, the biggest things that threaten me from Talon are the W and the Q, and if he can get onto me with ult and do a full combo, I'm dead. So basically, any ability that he lands on me is going to be very bad for me. I basically always want to look to tether this guy, and I always want to look to utilize my range advantage, because that's just basically the biggest strength of my kit. But then in order to, you can't just think about it in terms of an isolated 1v1. The jungle matchup always dictates what you can do with your lane. Now, I like to think about it in a very simple manner. I don't want to go too detailed into jungle paths, etc. I just want to keep it very simple so you guys can also use this sort of process. Is what do you think the likelihood is, or what do you think the effectiveness is of this early game, this jungler's early game is? So Zach's early game, or levels 1, 2, 3, 4, actually pretty bad. His E range is really low. He doesn't really do much damage, and he's gonna have to just basically full clear because he wants to scale up. Whereas Lee Sin, on the other hand, is very, his level 2 is quite strong, his level 3 is very strong, his early skirmishing is brilliant. So I know that, at least in the early game, Zach's not really going to be able to do much. As long as I lean to the correct side, it's going to basically mean I'm going to be an isolated 1v1 for a while. So that's the first few things that I'm thinking about. Now, I have a few options here, right, guys? I can Q the wave, I can Q Talon, I can not Q at all. How do you know what to do? Well, the way I want to do this video is I want to, again, I don't want this to be like, okay, Curtis Q the wave, so I have to Q the wave every single time I'm versing an assassin. No. I want you guys to come up with your own hypotheses, and the way I want to do this video is if this is me reviewing my game, and I think that, this strategy I executed in this game went well, but again, it's going to change every single time, so I'm going to try and get across the key fundamental concepts so you guys can apply in your own games. Now, I actually choose to Q the wave. Now, you may ask, Curtis, why'd you do that? Like, what does that achieve? Like, why'd you not hold your Q, or mate? Why didn't you just wait to Q him? Whatever. Well, my thought process, what is actually getting minion advantage do? At a very simplistic base level, what does minion advantage do? Well, if I Q the wave like this, it's basically telling the opponent that I'm going to be wanting to push in. But why is this good when you have a range advantage? Well, if I have the range advantage, I'm versing any form of melee champion, basically. Well, if Talon tries to walk up and CS these, say these melee creeps end up walking, crashing towards his tower, Talon's going to be very scared to auto-attack these creeps, right? Because he's a melee champion, because he knows that I can just Q him, I can W him, I can E him, because I just outrange him. So what's actually going to happen? Talon's going to have to use W on the creeps. He's going to have to use abilities to CS the wave, because he needs CS, right? So again, if I get the minion advantage, he's gonna be less inclined to use abilities on me, and more inclined to use abilities on the wave to make sure he gets CS. Now, conversely, if Talon would just walk up here, W this, and actually start pushing me in, it's going to be the exact same. Talon then is, I'm going to be so hard pressed to be able to use my abilities on Talon, because I'm going to have to use my abilities to CS, because I need to thin the wave. I don't want to let Talon push and roam, whatever. Again, it's going to be hard for me to get damage onto him. So whoever gets the minion advantage basically gets the more room to poke and use your abilities on the enemy. That's my thought process. And knowing the Zach is a very, weak early jungler, I know this is going to be an isolated 1v1. So again, I could have equally, Q'd him, but if I Q'd him, guys, then Talon's just going to walk up like this. He's going to W the creep and start getting push, which means that, again, once he starts getting the push, it's going to be very hard for me to start pushing back to him. Then he's going to start level 2 and level 3, start roaming, maybe getting the tempo bases. All these things are just bad because I want an extended, isolated 1v1. So notice what I do here, guys. Notice how when I use my Q and it's on cooldown, I'm tethering him. Because remember, I thought about threat. His threat is his W. I don't want him to get damage on me, right? So obviously just tethering him is quite simple. So again, I'm just utilizing my range advantage, looking to get poke whenever I can, utilizing my range advantage as much as I can, given it's my biggest strength, and trying to get push on the mini wave. If I can get push on the mini wave, this is exactly what he's going to be doing. He's going to be looking to Q creeps to CS, because again, he's scared to stand still and auto attack creeps, knowing that I can just Q him. And this is brilliant. If he's using W at all on these minions, then it says to me, brilliant, Curtis. You've just mega outranged him now because that's his only range ability, and you're just going to always win trades. So this is exactly what I wanted. And notice I'm just leaning onto the top side here, knowing Zach's on bot side, so very much an isolated 1v1. And I know that he can't be level 3 before 2 minutes 40 anyway, so it's all good. So look at that, beautiful. He used W on the creep like that, on the creeps like that, so I can just punish him, utilizing my range advantage. Again, if I was under tower on the other side, on the flip side, I wouldn't be able to walk up and Q him because I would be the one having to use my abilities on the creep. So it's just a very basic fundamental principle there, guys. So, this is looking really good so far. I'm in a really good spot. The isolated 1v1. He's using his W on the creeps quite poorly. So again, I'm looking to poke. Now, that's a really bad W. And why is this a bad W? Look at this. There's nothing for him to... There's no reason for him to walk up right now. There's no CS that he has to get. He's already got the CS and he's backing up. This is just a poor W, a bad usage of my mana, and a bad usage... It's very unlikely that I hit this W. Because now if I saved it here, he's going to have to walk up soon to auto attack. And yeah. Now look at this. Notice how scared Talon is, and I'm just constantly looking to tether this guy, not letting him land his W on me, because I've already primed myself, guys, mentally. I don't want to get hit by these Ws. That's his main threatening ability. And whenever he doesn't have W, guys, notice how I just walk up a little bit more aggressive, knowing he doesn't really have much gap closer after that, or he can't really poke me. So I'm just trying to make sure that I always have push on the wave, but now he starts W in the wave, and this is what I don't want. So I'm a little bit annoyed here that I don't really I let him get the push, but I'm trying to push it back while also poking him as well. That's like the win-win scenario. If you can push the wave and poke him at the same time, that's exactly what you want to be looking to do. Because again, that's going to be starting to push into him and getting damage off, utilizing your range advantage. Now, if I'm Talon though, I would not be looking to do this. I would W the wave, then I would probably stand over here or over here. And make me make a choice between queuing him and queuing the wave. But he's not doing that because he's obviously he's like, you know, he's Platinum 3, probably not a super high elo player, and he probably doesn't know how to utilize beat mages really reliably. So I get some nice poke off, and notice here that's the first time I use my E. I very rarely use my E, guys, in this lane. My E is my only form of self peel, and the only reason I use my E here is just because I thought if I can get a really good trade on him, it's going to prevent him from just like pushing and moving and, you know, potentially going into my teammate's jungle. But I missed the E, so I have to be quite careful here. So now he's got the push. I'm pinging, because again, I don't want this guy to push and move. This is exactly what I don't want. So notice how I just queue the wave straight away, and I really want to bring this Talon back to lane. I want to send signals to this Talon guy. Talon, you got to come back because you're going to miss CS. So I ward here to try and spot him out to see if he was camping. I see him duck into the jungle here, and now I know. I'm putting my information together. I'm full HP. He doesn't have full HP. My jungler's in the area. My jungler's a lot stronger in terms of river skirmishes. As long as I just bait him in here, my Lee Sin's in the area, I know we can win this skirmish. And this is not me just being stupid and chasing him in. Obviously, if my jungler's on Krugs here, I can't do this. Because if he jumps on me, no one's going to back me up. But I know Zach most likely is not going to be in this area yet, given that, you know, and his early skirmishing is so poor. And this is exactly, you know, this is a fight that I don't mind at all. Because my jungler's here. I've already thought about this. And we're able to get Talon on the back end here. And then we end up killing the Zach as well. Now, it's interesting because you may ask, well, Curtis, wasn't that a chaotic 2v2 skirmish? And let's go back a little bit here. And I want to also, this is going to be another theme within my, within this video, is very much talking about adaptation and adapting to the game. Now, in this scenario, if we go back a little bit here, notice how I was trying to cue the wave. So he leans out of vision. I cue the wave to try and bring him back to lane. I try and put a ward here to spot him out. Then I see Talon. Now my thought process is, well, I look at my mana and look at my HP. So I'm like, well, I'm actually quite full in terms of HP, and I've got barrier. He doesn't really have any items yet. I now just popped a corrupting pot. My jungler's in the area, and because I've already primed my mind to think, well, Lee Sin's stronger in the early game, and I know that Zach's early skirmish is quite bad, and I know he's not going to be over here. Zach's 100% going to be probably around blue, wolves, around this area, given that he's most likely done 3-camp bot side. But even then, you just know he's going to be on this top side area. I know that they can't burst me. Thinking about threat, Zach and Talon can't burst me with both my summoners. Lee Sin's in the area here, and because I've primed myself in that sense, wait for my CC for Talon, Lee Sin, it's just going to be a great fight. And, you know, if I hadn't thought about those things, and I hadn't thought about the level of threat of the enemy on me, and maybe if this jungle was different, maybe if this was a Jarvan jungle or a Shaco jungle, I wouldn't have done this. But I've already primed myself. It's a Zach. And I have the Lee Sin, okay? So nothing's random. You should already be... This is why priming yourself heading into the game, thinking about your game plan is so important. So we end up getting those kills. I come back, shove out the next wave, and then I base, and I get my lost chapter. Now, next important thing. I know that he has tempo on me right now, so I pan my camera mid, and I'm very, very ready now to spam pings to let my team know which side he roams to. Because again, that's the biggest thing when you're playing any like range versus melee matchup. I want to keep this in an isolated 1v1. I don't want to let him roam. So I ping that he's going bot side here to try and, you know, prevent my team from dying. But again, this is what I really want to minimize. I really want to minimize the time he can just push and roam like that. So again, what's my first response? Push, push, push. Because if I'm pushing, Talon's going to have to make a choice. Oh, am I going to go bot and miss all this CS under mid tower? Like, what am I going to do? So push, push, push to... you know, send signals to this Talon that, you know, he needs to address this mid lane wave. Now, in terms of warding, guys, you may ask, like, how do you know when to ward, where to ward? How does it, you know, how do you know? Well, if we look at the time here, guys, we know Zach died. It's 4 minutes 45. We know that Zach has done a bot to top path. So we know that most likely his camps that he's just started on are most likely going to be coming back up. And given that he died, he either had two choices. He either just gone straight back to his top side to finish off those 2 camps, then go back bot, which I don't think he would do. Most junglers are just going to go back to their camps that they just started on, his Raptors and his Krugs. So I know for 2 reasons it's good for me to ward bot side. I know that bot side is going to be mainly bot side is going to be the lane that Talon's going to look to roam to. And more importantly, this is the side where Zach's going to be coming back on. So if I ward here, then I'm going to be pretty safe from Zach. I don't think he's going to be coming from top side. So again, what do? Push, 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 knowing that if I've got my vision here, I can spot out Talon make a choice between roaming and pushing mid, losing CS mid, and I'm just leaning onto the top side like this, knowing that Zach as well would only be level 4, because my jungler's level 4, so I'm assuming Zach's level 4 as well, so his E range is going to be so low. Again, I'm always thinking about level of threat. So if I'm versing a Shaco or something, or a Jarvan, I would be so scared to be here. I have no flash, and if Elise or something could just come around from top side and kill me, I would not be doing this. But again, I know Zach most likely is bot side, and I know that his level of threat is quite low. And now this is exactly what I'll be looking to do. Again, if I have the push, Talon's going to have to walk up, CS like this, where I get a huge bit of poke off, or he has to use his abilities on the minion wave, where he's going to go or he's not going to have any abilities for me. Now, what do we see? Zach and Thresh on the mini map there. Beautiful. And notice, guys, how I very rarely use my E. I only use my E if I know 100% it's an isolated 1v1 and it's for a very good trade, and where I'm not going to need it for a defensive purpose, or I'm not going to need it for some skirmish, whatever. It's very much a luxury to use that ability. So now my mindset has not changed. I've got my vision out. I know just Zach's on the bot side just a little bit there. And notice how I'm respecting here. Look how much I'm respecting, because I don't know where Thresh is. I'm assuming Thresh is actually still sitting in that bush. Because look, if we go back a little bit here. Thresh and Zach. See, Thresh walked into this bush here. He walked into river here. So again, threat. I'm an immobile mage. I have no flash. I'm a threat assessment. Then I see Zach there, so I'm assuming, and then Lee Sin uses the Scry's Bloom here, so I know Thresh is still in this bush, just sitting there. So I'm just chilling. Look where I'm sitting all the way back here. My positioning is always revolving around, which side is my vision, who's missing on the map, what's the level of threat the enemy jungler has on me, and then Thresh moves down, and now I know, alright, it's all good. Now I know Thresh is gone. I can start to play a little bit more aggressive here. So, and then look at that. Notice how I'm always trying to CS and hit him at the same time. That's just a little tip there. So now I'm trying to just push this in again, rinse, repeat. Keep poking this guy as much as I can. So then it's going to prevent him from pushing and moving, and and keep him very low HP. Now look at this. Actually, this is actually quite interesting. So I missed my Q. So then he decides to walk up in W. Now look how hard it is for him to do this, because he's never really, because he hasn't really been positioning in the wave very well, in the lane very well. He's kind of just screwed. He just has to cop all this damage. He's trying to push and move, but he just can't. So I'm really putting the heat on this guy, making it very difficult for him to get a reset, putting the pressure on him, knowing that Zac couldn't be here, knowing that Zac can't gank me. It's an isolated 1v1. And notice here, guys, that I'm able to use my abilities quite crazily and use all my abilities in him and not be scared, because I know Zac can't gank me. Thresh is in bot lane. I know this is an isolated 1v1. I'm always thinking about that. I'm never just thinking of things in an isolated 1v1. I'm always thinking about, is there anyone here to disrupt my 1v1, basically? So we get that kill, pretty self-explanatory stuff there. I decide to push out the next wave, and then I end up recalling. Now, what do? The exact same thing. I pan my camera mid to see where Talon is, and if he pushes out mid and gets moved, I want to be on top of my pinks to make sure he doesn't get a roam off. So now coming back out of lane, the game plan hasn't really changed. I'm scaling quite nicely, but again, I really want this game to be in more isolated 1v1. So I have a pink. I ping the side that it looks like he roamed to. He looks like he lent on bot side, so I'm pinging bot side a lot right now. Not much I can do about this. An interesting concept to think about, guys. Let's go back here. Before I base, I killed him. So look at this. This is how you know who has tempo. So I killed Talon here. I go back mid. Look at the death timer here. 10 seconds. Pause here, 10 seconds. My recall takes 8 seconds. So every second, so now if I go past this a little bit, every second from now onwards, if I were to start my recall now, this is 8. Well, that means we're going to have equal tempo. But maybe he has Moby, so we can get back to base faster than me, to lane faster than me, so he might have tempo. But every second that I spend in lane like this means that he's going to have more tempo than me past 8 seconds. So now he has like 4 seconds of tempo, 5, 6. Now he has 8 seconds of tempo because now he just came up. But now I have to know willingly, I have to process this as information that this is I sacrificed my tempo in the lane to get more gold, to get more items. So as long as I'm aware of that as a concept, and this is if a lot of the time, if you're not confident in your ability to keep him in lane, then sometimes it's just better to match your base with him so he doesn't really get much tempo, so you can just match him in lane all the time. So I come back, I pan my camera here just to see which side. He goes on fast forwarding. He lent on bot side, so I'm just like hard pinging bot side right now. Not really much I can do about it because, again, I greeted to stay in the lane. But it is what it is. And then I put a pink here, and then Talon ends up going top, so he actually roamed top. So I put a pink down thinking that that's where Talon was going to come back, but he ended up roaming top side. So what's my response again? It's the same thing, push to deny this guy as much CS as possible. And then what is my response here? So I end up deciding to go for a plate. So how do I decide to go for a plate here or not? Well, it's the first plate, so it's quite squishy. And then also, it was already kind of half HP, and I don't think I can get a second plate. And then I see a fight breaking up bot, so I decide to hover here. Now I know that this is a great opportunity for me to get some deep wards here, knowing that this is exactly where Zac's going to be ganking me from. Now, this isn't just a random warding location. I'm actively thinking about how can I isolate this lane. If I have a ward here and a pink ward here, basically, I know I can always lean to bot side, knowing that Zac can't really gank me from top side if I just hard lean to bot side like this. Now, it's interesting because I had a choice here. I could have actually just sat mid and hit that tower. But what if I just sat mid and continued to hit that tower? That could be scary for me because then Talon's coming back to mid from top side. Zac could just be sitting here on this, on this ledge and potentially eating me. So I was able to get that one plate mid, knowing that Talon's not in the area yet. So I get that one plate. Then I lean bot side knowing that this is the side I want to play towards. This is the side I want to get my vision on because this is where Zach is most likely going to be ganking me from. And now I know, okay, well, I'm going to come back mid knowing that Talon's has to react to that CS. Then Zach actually pops out of nowhere. But I know here that Talon's not really in position to follow up, so I just stun and start walking out. My Lee Sin's in the area, and then we start peeling back. And then we play for this 2v2. This is ideally not the fight that I would want. I was hoping that with my vision here, I wouldn't have actually gotten ganked like that. Zach was just already in position in river. But we end up winning the 2v2 and outplaying it with my barrier. But this is ideally, if I were to look at this from view, this is not the fight that I would want. Like my intention with these wards, these two wards here, that Zach wouldn't be in the area. And I'd be able to isolate this 1v1. And I wouldn't have to play for these 2v2 skirmishes. Because ideally, when I don't have flash, they have a lot of threat onto me. And this is, again, this is exactly what I don't want. I'm not utilizing my range. I'm super vulnerable. This is exactly, not what I want. So, yeah, we end up winning this 2v2. But again, it was very, very close. Well, a lot too close for my liking. So we win that. I come back, get another mid wave. I get another plate, knowingly sacrificing my tempo, knowing that Lee Sin's most likely going to base here. My bot just come out of base, and I wanted my Ludens. So what do? I do the exact same thing. I work towards my my next item, and I look mid. And because I have vision on one side, I start to ping missing, and I don't know where he went. I think he went top side here, so I start pinging top side. Because I think I had plenty of vision on bot side, so I start pinging. And again, really not much I can do. I sacrifice tempo, and then Talon ends up killing my jungler, I believe. But I think they trade 1-for-1. So, again, if I were to look at this in review, I'd be like, Curtis, I think you're playing way too greedy in terms for gold and plates. Yes, it's working well, but... I mean, he's gotten 2 roams off now purely because I've greeded tempo. I mean... I've really sacrificed my tempo in the lane. So I'm really kind of not happy about that. I'm fine in the 1v1, but it is what it is. A bit frustrating. But now I get to punish him. So instead of actually going for a bot roam here, I think I decided to go for this plate knowing that it's only Zach mid. And I'm looking at who's on the map. I know that the support and the AD carry are bot. I know this is an isolated by myself, or only Zach can be here and Zach doesn't threaten me. I know Talon's going to be coming out of base now very soon. So I decide to get this one plate, and then I decide to move. Because I can't get any more plates, because Talon's going to be here any second. So I lean onto the side where I think, which is more vulnerable. So fast forwarding a little bit here. I start leaning onto bot side, seeing that a fight was breaking out, and trying to snipe him with my ultimates. Then we end up burning a flash here, that's about it. But... it looks like a fight is potentially ensuing. I think that Zach was going to be in the area as well, so I decided to commit here. Now, you may ask, you'd be like, Curtis, why are you going for these roams if you're playing in a mobile mage who just wants to be sitting mid isolating the 1v1? That's a good question. Because it felt right here. I want to talk about this because this is a big decision. So I think this is correct to go for this little ultimate here. That's fine. Now, and again, I want to do this video in a very review style way, very much like me reviewing my own gameplay, really getting into the details, like how I would review it. Now, what's the positives? And the way I like to think about it is like, what are the positives and negatives of this play? Well, the positives is that a fight's going to be breaking out where I'm going to get to it first. Talon's still reacting to mid-wave, so I have a lot of time to be able to, get something done here. Kai'Sa is a very snowbally champion, and getting your bot lane fed is quite good. Then what are the downsides of this play then? Well, the downsides of this play is that Talon then is now actually denying me CS mid. He can potentially make a play on the opposite side of the map and like maybe kill my top laner or something. He could even pincer me on bot side here because I'm in the jungle in a very vulnerable position where I might have to blow flash to escape or something like that. Not really good. But I think the reason I decided to go for this play is because I thought that if I could just kill Xerath here, knowing that he just blew flash from before, even if Talon and Zach came to follow up, we would be able to win this fight because it would be a 4v2 after we killed the Ezreal. So I think either way, both decisions are kind of good because then I could have kept Talon pinned in mid lane for longer. Maybe they would have been able to dive in potentially on their own. It is what it is. I think either way is not too bad, but... because it worked, it's like a bit of a hindsight bias. I can say it was the correct play just because it worked. But, you know, maybe if Ezreal respected a little better and they got out, then maybe, you know, wouldn't have been the best play. But it is what it is. So it's just, as long as you're going through, and that was a bit of a hard one, but as long as in your reviews, you're very much weighing it up in this way where, what are the positives of this play? And what are the negatives? Like, what are you actually trading off to make this play happen? Because League of Legends is actually all about sacrifice. There's always some form of trade or sacrifice or something going on. So coming back to mid here, guys, what's the first thing I see? That I actually see Zac on Rifthold here. So this is straight away sending signals to me. This is an isolated 1v1 Curtis. So this is all systems go. Curtis, you can play aggressive as you want. You can throw your W, you can throw your Q, whatever. You know this is an isolated 1v1. Now, again, it's all calculated. Like mid lane's all about calculation. It's all about knowing when are the windows and how do you identify trading windows, guys? Well, again, I know that I have the range advantage. I know that I have barrier and flash, so I have plenty of self-peel. But more importantly, I know that this is not going to be a chaotic 2v2 because I know Zac's on vision. I know that no one's here to back Talon up because Thresh is bot side here as well. This is all systems go for me. Now, the biggest problem I see, guys, with a lot of players is that when they take trades, they're not taking trades taking into account all the information in terms of locations of everyone on the map. So, for example, you'll see them play Orianna, and they'll take a trade, like a very heavy trade against this Talon, thinking that, oh, you know, it's fine. But little do they know, they have no vision on the jungle. They're versing a Jarvan or a Shaco, and then, you know, next minute, Shaco or Jarvan just pops out and kills them, and then they complain about jungle difference. So it's always important. You got to take trades that you gotta take trades when you've got the necessary information. It's not just luck, right? There's just not luck here. Now, now I decide, because I don't really need to recall, I believe, because I've still got quite a bit of resources. I see this guy overextended. I know he doesn't have flash. And again, this is one of those weird decisions where you're like, Curtis, why are you doing these roams? Aren't you playing Xerath like an immobile mage who just wants to sit mid and break mid tower? It's actually interesting you say that, though. Or like, I think the way I like to think about it, though, is this is what I call adaptation. Well, I have a choice here. And again, League's all about choices. It's all about trade-offs. And as long as you're thinking about it in that very trade-off way because every decision in League is a sacrifice. If you do one play, you're sacrificing the potential of another play. Now here, what I'm trading off is I'm trading off the ability to just reset there for tempo mid and come back and isolate mid lane. But again, if I don't make this roam, then Ezreal's just going to be able to farm and push out and maybe get a reset himself. I know that this Ezreal has no flash from before. And I know that it seems like a pretty free kill, knowing that he doesn't have flash, Lee Sin's in the area, and I know Thresh was dead, Talon was recalled, and Zac was topside. So, again, this play is good because I get the kill. As long as I'm understanding the trade-off, now Talon's getting out of push in mid, deny me a bit of CS, make a counterplay topside. As long as I'm aware of that, as I think now ping Talon going topside right now to try and deny him from getting a play. But as long as I'm aware of that in review, as long as in review you're going, you know what? I made this play. I'm not sure if it's good or bad, but let's actually get into the details. What did it work? What ended up happening because of it? What did I trade off because of it? If I didn't do this, what would I have gotten? Really getting into that like level of discussion, that's how you're going to improve. That's how you're going to be able to start taking responsibility and be accountable for the decisions in your game. Now I come back mid, again, rinse, repeat, same thing. I just want to bring this Talon back mid, so I'm just pushing, knowing that Zac's mid, so I know it's an isolated 1v1, or at least, you know, I know no one can really threaten me, so I'm just constantly pushing this tower. I'm assuming Talon ended up trying to roam top, but failed. Now Talon's coming back mid, I believe. Oh yeah, Talon comes back mid, and I end up breaking mid tower, I believe. So now it's so hard for Talon to do anything at this point. And this is where most mages like aren't in this sort of position versus an assassin. Like the game's like boomed for most mages by this time. But again, nothing that I've done in here is special. It's just all very much calculated League of Legends, like calculated gameplay, thinking about the threat assessment, thinking about positioning, thinking about warding. Nothing too special going on here, guys. This is why playing these mages, it doesn't really matter what champion you play. It's more important. What's more important is actually the fundamentals you're applying to when you play that champion itself. Now, actually, after I get this tower here, it's actually interesting. I decide to line up a Q, and I get another. I believe I get a W here as well. Now, this E is actually really bad. And why is this E bad? Well, I have no vision on Zac. I have no vision on the enemy support. My jungler's doing blue buff, and my AD carries reset. Now, yes, I get away with it here, and you know, I walk out, but I just like, again, it's all about what was the sacrifice there. I used my E, potentially going for a kill, but the risk versus reward there, given I have a huge bounty as well, just was not worth it. I believe that if I didn't dodge that, maybe I had to blow flash there or something, because of that, and that wouldn't have been good at all, because again, I want to be holding on to my flash as much as possible. So again, that's the way I like to do these reviews, is very much think about what's the cost, what was the trade-off of that, what was the cost involved, the I guess the inbuilt or implicit cost involved of making that decision. So I end up trying to go for a kill on this Talon, end up missing my last one here. But again, now Lee's in the area. I know that I'm so far ahead. I have both summoners that this should be pretty free. And pretty self-explanatory. We play this fight out. We end up pushing out mid. And then, you know, at this point, I've gotten mid tower. I'm 4-0. The game's just going to turn into a bit of an ARAM, and then it ends up being a pretty clean game. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go into the second VOD. And this one's going to be, again, Xerath versus Zed, I believe, a Platinum 3 Zed. We're going to do the exact same thing and talk about how I come about my initial game plan, and how do I know how to do I guess, how do I know what to do with the waves level 1, 2, and 3, and how do I know how to navigate that game? So diving straight into this one, guys, quickly talking about it in the same sense, what do we know in terms of this matchup 1v1? Well, 1v1, guys, I obviously outrange this guy. It's the same thing. I'm a Xerath versus a very low range champion. Zed also, in the same sense, if I get the push on the minion wave, he's not really going to be able to use Qs on me. He's going to be having to focus his Qs on the minions, which is going to be great for me because less attention on me, more attention on the minions. And more importantly, what's the jungle matchup? Well, Nidalee's early ganks are pretty bad, so there's no really gank setup. No, in terms of threat and range, guys, there's not much threat from these guys in terms of gank setup. So as long as I lean to the correct side, Nidalee's just want to be power farming in the early game. I have the pressure jungler again, luckily. So as long as I lean to the right side, I know that I'm basically going to be in an isolated 1v1. So what do I decide to do in this one? Again, I decide to queue the wave. Again, this strategy works very well in a lot of these when you're able to isolate the lane 1v1. Again, this strategy wouldn't actually, I would probably do something a little different. Let's just say if I was versing a Jarvan or an Elise or a Shaco, I would probably just want to keep the wave in the middle or slightly onto my side. So again, you got to adapt every single game to what's the range and level of threat on you, and the threat ties into directly what the jungle champion is and their propensity to actually go for those early ganks. You know, their gap closure, their CC, etc. So Zed is a little bit more threatening in the sense that he has his W as a pretty big gap closer. So that's something I'm already thinking about. But again, level 1, he doesn't really have that. So what I'm trying to do here is, notice I'm standing outside the wave. I'm trying to make him make a choice between hitting me and hitting the creeps. So, and then I end up taking I don't play this first wave, I take a tower hit as well, which is not good. Anyway, so that's exactly what I want. So he has to walk up there to auto attack this creep, and he takes a Q to the face for it. So this is exactly what I want to be looking to do. And again, I know Nidalee's early ganks are quite poor. She can't really gank pre-level 3. And even when she is level 3, that's not going to be till 2 minutes 40 anyway. So at least for this first 2 minutes 40, it's going to be very, very safe. So I'm trying to get as much poke off as possible. Try and have a minion advantage if possible as well. And try and, you know, keep the pressure on this guy so he can't really use abilities on me, and he has to use them on the creeps. So again, I'm trying to tether his Q or stand away from the minions knowing that he's going to Q the minion. So I really don't want him to get Q damage onto me. And notice, look at this one. I actually position behind this creep to try and get the Q and the last hit at the same time. Again, when you're playing any form of, like, you know, Syndra or Orianna or any poke champion, if you can CS and Q them at the same time, you should be definitely looking to do that, because it's pretty juicy. Now, again, this is just, it's really important, because the way I like to think about this is like, all I'm thinking right now is threat assessment. That's all I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking, well, he's level 2. I'm assuming he has, I didn't see if he went W or E, but I'm pretty sure he went E level 2. But as soon as he hits level 3, he's going to be a lot more threatening because he's going to have his full combo. But again, there's no there's not really much gank setup, is there? There's no hard CC. As long as I lean to the correct side, there's not really much of a way for them to kill me. So I'm always thinking about that. It's never leaving my It's never leaving my mind. I'm not just here pushing mindlessly because I can. I'm pushing here because this is, again, going to allow me to get more poke off, and I'm able to do this because the jungler can't really gank me at this point in time because of the sheer level of threat. Now I know post 2 minutes 40, Nidalee's going to be top side. She could potentially gank from top side, so I put a ward in top river. Now I know this is 100% going to be an isolated 1v1 with that ward. Now this is actually an interesting thing in terms of dodging pattern here, guys. Now look how hard it is for Zed to look for these W's when he has to do it all through these minions, and it's so obvious, and there's no need for me to walk up because I don't need to go for these minions. Now, I do a shimmy. I walk this way, and then I walk this way to try and feint which way I'm dodging. So it's just a little tip. I would play it one more time. You see what I do. So I path down. I see him use the W. I shimmy down, and then I go up. So then he's like, oh, is he going to dodge that way? So it's just a little fake thing there. Now I know he has no threat because he has no W. So because now I can start to poke really hardcore, knowing he has 0 threat. So it's always trading windows, guys. It's all about cooldowns. It's all about trading windows. So I get a nice little bit of CS and poke on the back end, looking to potentially reset, very similar time to this guy. Then another fight breaks out top side. So I know that my Lee Sin's here first. I know that Zed can't really attend this fight because he's really, really low. I know that Lee Sin's a lot stronger. I have both summoners. I'm looking at my health and my mana, and I know this is going to be a good fight for us. So and again, this is just called adaption. On paper, you might think, some Reddit analyst is like, oh my god, Xerath Lee Sin versus Nidalee Zed early skirmish is so bad. No, like, you got to adapt to the situation. I noticed he was so low HP. I've got full HP. My Lee Sin versus Nidalee, Lee Sin's very much stronger level, level 3 isolated skirmish. So I tried to back him up, and I end up landing an EQ, sorry, and we end up forcing this Nidalee out of his own jungle. Now, never in a million years would you guys think, oh my god, you're a Xerath killing a Zed in the jungle like this. But again, I just adapt to the situation, and here I stick around, I'm assessing, and then we're able to get a kill on the back end here as well. Notice how it's the exact same thing happened in the last game. And this was like pretty much back-to-back, nearly back-to-back games on this account. I'm like, dude, does anyone know, like, just because I'm playing a mage doesn't mean I can't win these early skirmishes if I take good trades in the early game. So anyway, come back. This guy has a bit of tempo in me, exact same thing. So I come back, I ping missing straight away to try and warn my team that Zed has pushed. So I collect this wave. And I try and ping that he's going topside, but there's really not much I can do about it. And this has been the common trend, guys, is that I ping, doesn't really change anything. They get the kill. But again, I'm just so focused on my own lane. If he gets a kill, he gets a kill. I'm going to deny him as much CS as possible and punish him on the back end. So Zed ends up getting a kill topside, and I end up just trying to deny Zed as much CS as possible and get some plates because I'm playing quite greedy here. Now, what's the exact same thing we'll see in this game? Well, Nidalee started bot side. She died on top side. So most likely it's 5 minutes. She's going to be getting back onto her bot side where her camps are respawning. So I don't use my ward straight away here, guys, because I know Nidalee's on bot side on vision at the moment. And I want to try and get a plate ideally. But I know any second that now Zed's going to be coming back mid. Nidalee's going to be on top side. So I'm just going to walk out of vision, get a pink ward and bot river to prevent him from getting the scuttle. And this gets some vision for me to lean onto top side. Again, I know Nidalee's going to be on top side for the next while, so as long as I have this side spotting out Nidalee, it's going to be all good for me. Now, I just got to be a little bit careful in the sense that, Zed can walk up and chunk me, but as long as I'm tethering, utilizing my range advantage, it's going to be very hard for Zed to get like a WQ max range onto me, so I'm quite confident being able to play the poke game at the moment. And again, this Zed wants isolate like a crazy 2v2 skirmishes or all in me. So in terms of threat, as long as I'm full HP, he can't kill me. As long as I hold my stun, he can't really kill me because I can just kill him, stun him if he jumps onto me. And look at this, I get a nice little bit of poke off, and I end up kill him here as well on the back end. So this is really interesting here. So he comes back to lane full HP. I take this trade. I pop my corrupting pot. I know this is just an isolated 1v1 because I see Nidalee on Raptors right here. So I know that because I have the range advantage, he has no W now. So I can just walk up freely. And I know that he doesn't have 6, so I don't need to hold my stun. So I just utilize my range advantage and I kill him. Very self-explanatory stuff here, guys. Nothing special going on. So I get that kill, and I end up staying on the map. And you may ask, like, why do I decide to stay on the map? I'm willingly doing this because I still have a corrupting pot. I have a full mana. I have both summoners, and I can't really get my Ludens anyway. I don't really feel like blasting one's going to be the difference here. So I end up staying for a little bit longer than usual, and then I ended up deciding, well, I don't really need to base. I'm just going to stay on the map. And if I stay on the map here, because I knew that the trade-off of me basing was that this guy would get... Yes, I would come back in with a blasting wand and that'd be great. But this guy would be able to get a whole wave before I even get back. He'd be able to push, get level 6, and actually move and potentially do something. So I was willing to take the loss of gold, or the loss of, item, to stay on the map longer so this guy doesn't have move or doesn't have tempo to be able to get a roam off. So right now, I thought he was going to roam onto bot side here, maybe look for a roam onto my bot lane. So I'm sitting here waiting for him to walk over vision to get a full combo. And I do this a lot. You've seen my other videos where I pink here, ward here, and then get like a full combo on their way through. But he ends up not even trying to roam. I think he decides to try and get this next wave, thinking that I've recalled, get level 6 off this next wave, and then end up trying to roam after that. But little does he know, I stay, end up utilizing my range. Notice I'm tethering as well. I'm not just standing up here and queuing. I know that he has W and Q. If I walk really, really close, he's going to be able to get a full combo. And I'm just playing around my Q cooldown, playing from a distance at the moment, which again is my inherent strength. So I'm trying to just continually pushing him in, make it very difficult for him to roam, hugging my vision onto bot side, knowing this is my jungler as well, backing him up, knowing that if a fight breaks out, I'm going to get here first. Very, very self-explanatory, trying to get some poke from out of vision, utilizing my range advantage. And I know that as long as I hold my E, I don't think he can kill me, because then I can just stun instantly and prevent him from all-inning me. So I try to stop this guy from roaming. I'm pinging as much as I can. I don't really want to follow blindly, but I just want to, again, exert a bit of pressure so he doesn't get a free roam off. So, end up getting a nice little chunk onto him here. This is always what I try to do on these champions, whether it's Lux. I try this on Lux, and I do this on Syndra sometimes, where I just pink here and ward over here. It's the exact same concept, just poking him on his way back to lane. Try to get an ult off here. I think I miss all my ults, unfortunately. It is what it is. Again, rinse, repeat. Poke, poke, poke. Utilizing my range, not getting range. Now he gets in range, instantly Q, and then end up killing him on the back end here. Again, nothing too special going on here. This is all calculated. Like, it's funny. You look at this and you're like, oh my god, this Zed's just getting outplayed. Like, I'm not giving him the option to outplay me. I'm thinking about tempo. I'm thinking about the jungler all the time. I'm thinking about his WQ as his threat. I'm thinking about utilizing my range. I'm just not letting him do things to me. And again, like, in review, I would think, well, I mean, this guy obviously doesn't really know how to verse mages very well. I think what he could have done better is he should have actually, in the early game, he should have stood outside the minion wave a lot more, made me make a choice between pushing and not, and actually tried to use his Q through the minions to try and stop me from hard pushing, and actually potentially even taking, his dodging pattern wasn't good at all either. So anyway, fast forwarding a little bit here, guys. I've got my Ludens. I'm coming back to lane. Zed ends up getting another roam. This is in the common trend. Every game I verse an assassin, they just get a kill, even though I ping. So I even ping here hardcore. So I see Zed here, and I end up hardcore pinging. He's going to, come on, Lee, no, no, no. And then he gets a kill. Zed gets a kill. It's like, this happens every game in low elo. It doesn't matter how much you ping, they'll always get a kill. So my mindset, I've accepted reality that pings, yes, pings are a great habit to get into, but they don't really change much all the time. So my mindset is, all right, I'm going to play as selfish as possible and just deny as much CS as possible and play my own game. If my jungler dies, he dies. There's really not much I can do about it. So I end up deciding to lean bot side here. Nothing ends up happening. I end up coming back mid. This was something I would look at in review as well. I go for this roam thinking we're going to go for a play or something, or maybe a dive with my full combo. But then this guy ends up just basing. Now Zed gets push off mid and gets, you know, a bunch of tempo and gets the roam top side. Now, this is a massive mistake, and this is exactly tying it back into that same process. What was the pros and cons of that decision? The pros were I potentially was able to kill bot. The cons were, if I went for that play and I didn't get it, then Zed's going to be able to push out, either get a reset for himself or go from a counterplay on the other side of the map. So he ends up not doing that, but you know, the risk was there. So end up again playing my own game here, trying to push the wave as much as I can, make it a living hell for this Zed, prevent him from actually pushing me out, preventing him from getting any playoff, utilizing my range advantage, holding my E only for when I need it. And he goes on me, I do the exact same thing, E, Q, W, and we end up playing this 2v2. I don't know what happened here. I thought this was free. What ended up happening? Oh, he missed his Q. And he didn't have R. Because I thought that Lee Sin had R. He could just instantly RQ him and he just dies one shot. But he ended up taking a full combo from it. He ends up dying. They end up chasing me here. I end up nearly killing Nid. Xerath ends up chasing me. Oh, missed that. And then end up getting another kill here. Then Nidalee ends up killing me. Unfortunate. So that was, if I were to review that, I mean, I thought I played it quite fine. Okay, the big problem with this, okay, this is the big problem here. This is what I would review. What's the two things here? Well, I actually don't know where Nidalee is. And more importantly, look at this. Look how bad this range tethering is. He's walking at me, and look how much I'm overshooting this Q. So this actually allows him to walk up an army, I believe. Yeah, so I should never ever allow him to do that. Like this is really bad. Like, again, what is my main strength of Xerath? Is that my range advantage. He just literally walked at me and ulted me. And people may say here, oh my god, Lee Sin misplayed this, whatever. No, dude, this was my fault for taking, like, yes, in our isolated 1v1, I would have been fine. But, you know, the game's not an isolated 1v1, and the junglers are involved. Now, I've just brought in my Lee Sin into a shitty fight. He ends up dying because of it on the back end, which is, again, is decreasing the chances of me winning this game. And, again, always bringing it back to, like, what can you take responsibility for? How can I be ultimately accountable and responsible for what happens in the game? And for me, again, I would look at that, and my tethering wasn't good. You always got to find the thing that you could have done better in the game to take responsibility. So coming back in the game, more fights break out because of it snowballed from what happened before. But anyway, I go back mid. And again, I'm just trying to push this guy in. The more he has to see us under tower, the more poke I'm able to get, which is looking really, really nice. Trying to get some ults off. He ends up getting a kill on the back end because I got some nice poke. Get some more plates mid. Nothing too special going on, knowing that it's an isolated lane. Fast forward this a little bit just to make sure there's nothing else that's juicy to cover. And yeah, basically this is the rinse repeat. I try and get vision, lean to my jungler's side, constantly threat assessment, knowing, you know, as long as I hold my E, he can't really kill me. Now I know as well, as long as I push this guy in, then Zed's always gonna have to make a choice between hitting the losing CS or going to these fights. Then a fight breaks out, then I can follow on the back end, knowing that he's also losing a bunch of CS. Now I'm 2 levels up on the Zed as well. Now this is a fight that's actually good for me, because I can abuse my range advantage. They can't get onto me at whatsoever. And I'm always thinking about my range. I'm always thinking about threat. And yeah, they can't really get onto me. And I get a kill on the back end here. And yeah, this game, then we end up breaking bot tower. I'm 6-1. I'm incredibly fed. I'm like nearly 3 levels up on this guy. 2 levels up on this guy. And then, you know, it's pretty free from here. Now, what I tried to get across in this video, I mean, I may not have been able to do it quite well, but what I really tried to get across in this video is actually just show you how when you come up with a plan for your laning phase, I don't want you to think that that's the only plan possible, right? Just because you've got a plan, yes, it might work, but that's not the only plan possible. You always got to be ready to adapt. You always got to assess the key parts of information: threat, range, jungle matchup. How do you want to play the matchup, like in terms of, you know, basically range and threat, and then have a go. And then after, you look at it, be like, what were the pros and cons of this situation? What was I losing? What was I gaining from making this decision? And then get into the grind, man. Get into the reviews. What are you seeing? And you'll start to see trends. And then this will help reinforce you understanding the identity of your champion. what works for this champion? What doesn't work for this champion? What did you like about this game? What felt good for this game? What didn't feel good for this game? You always got to just tie it back to identity, tie it back to that improvement mindset. One game, one game is better than no games. Even if you can take one game, one decision, maybe you played flawlessly for the first 5 minutes, but then you made a mistake at 7 minutes that cost your jungler to die, then you got to take full responsibility for that game. Yes, you might lose, but that's the way League of Legends is. So hopefully this video helps. Let me know, what other things you kind of want to see in my Unranked to Challenger. And cheers. Thanks for watching.